Hey guys, this is Lucy. Thanks for joining me on the third episode of Permaculture Perspectives. Today I'm going to be discussing my experience at the EUPC, that's the European Permaculture Convergence, which took place in Italy in 2016. I'll be talking about my experience there, what I did, what I liked, and what I didn't like so much. So stick around. So I wanted to do a bit of a vlog episode today and just talk about what my experiences were at the EUPC. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the EUPC, it's a yearly, I think it's like a bi-yearly gathering in a city or town in Europe, and it's pretty much like a big convergence where a bunch of people come and you'll have a lot of the well-known teachers in permaculture and a bunch of teachers teaching in Europe coming together and giving presentations and workshops about different topics in permaculture. It's a really great opportunity for people to exchange ideas, meet each other, talk about different projects, and in general find like-minded people and new friends. It took place in a town called Bolsena in Italy in September of 2016, early September, and it lasted 5 days. So my partner and I were just on the heels of finishing a woofing trip. We were woofing at a farm in a region called Le Marche in the central part of Italy. And so for those of you who don't know, woofing is a work exchange program where you work on organic farms about 5 hours a day, and in exchange you get room and board and meeting cool people and exchanging experiences. So we decided to go to the EUPC since we're both really interested in permaculture and we were already in Italy. And we actually signed on as volunteers so we could get the full experience. So first I'm going to talk a bit about the setting and what I liked. So first of all, the setting of the place was absolutely amazing. It was a small town, as I mentioned, called Bolsena, which is on a lake also called Bolsena, in the central part of Italy. And this town is amazing. It's like this preserved medieval little village. It's kind of like a hill-shaped village, and it's just like beautiful, stunning. And then the lake itself is also really gorgeous. And this was late summer, so there weren't that many tourists around, and it was just kind of like peaceful and sunny and warm, not too hot. Weather-wise, setting-wise, it was absolutely amazing. Something that was unique to this UPC, I think, was that they didn't want to isolate the people who were at the permaculture convergence from the people who lived in the town of Bolsena. They thought that that happened too often, that permaculturists were seen as these weird hippies, like doing their gardening thing over there. And the organizers of this UPC didn't want that. They wanted to be more integrated into the place where the EUPC was actually happening. So instead of having it in like a field or campsite or whatever, they actually had all of the EUPC events, workshops in spaces in the town of Bolsena. So the participants actually had to navigate the town of Bolsena, get to know the locals in order to participate in the EUPC. So we had it at libraries, in different kind of multi-purpose rooms, in the old ruins. The town was pretty small, so you would always see people going to and from, and if you were lost you could always ask where to go. And it was a really good way for, as I said, the permaculturists and the people who were living in the town to actually meet each other, and it also helped boost the local economy, which was very much tourist driven, and they had just come off the tourist season, so things were slowing down a bit. I think it was pretty good for them. Hopefully they thought the same. And in general, the atmosphere was just really great. The accommodation, people had to find their own accommodation, but most people stayed in campsites. And something that was really cool were that the campsites around the town on the lake actually had like special discounts for people coming, especially for the UPC, because they knew a lot of people were coming. So we were able to like buddy up on one camping spot. We had like 3 tents, for example, in our camping spot, and so we got a reduced rate, and it was really affordable. And that was the first thing that I really liked about the EUPC, was that it was affordable. A lot of conferences and gatherings and festivals tend to be pretty expensive, and that's something that I find difficult also in permaculture. A lot of permaculture courses are just way too expensive, but the EUPC was super affordable. So I think the early bird price was like 50 euros, and this is for 5 days. Give you access to 5 days of workshops and meetings. And then the price when you were actually there, if you hadn't signed up early, was I think 75 euros. But still, for a 5-day event, I thought that was really, really great. And then if you wanted to be a volunteer, like my partner and I, you got the whole event for free, and you even got a bit of expenses covered towards your camping fees or your food or whatever. So we actually got to do it pretty much for free. And so my partner and I were volunteers, which meant that we were kind of like just facilitating and helping, making sure that every presentation and workshop ran smoothly. We usually had about 2 to 3 volunteers in any given workshop, and we were just there to support the presenters. And that was a super cool opportunity because I got to meet some really cool permaculture teachers, and like some of the people that I had looked up to over the past few years, I actually got to meet them. That was super, super amazing. They were all really nice, and I got to discover some really cool topics in permaculture that I hadn't really experienced before. One of the things that I really liked was the workshop on sociocracy, which is a way of organizing organizations or projects or businesses that is not top down. It's pretty much a way of organizing where there isn't a boss, but everyone is given responsibility, and there are certain measures put into place so that people are accountable to each other. And so there's a lot of organization without the need for a top-down hierarchical structure. I really liked that there was a space made for women at this conference, at this convergence rather. I think that it was really cool. There have been a lot of voices raised in the recent years, I would say, saying that it is harder for women to make a name for themselves in permaculture. It's harder for women to grow their business as a permaculture teacher and practitioner. Which just kind of echoes the broader trends in society today. So there were special spaces made for women. There was some workshops that were for women only and discussed the empowerment of women in permaculture and how women can support each other, which was really cool. I didn't know that was going to happen, and I was really pleasantly surprised by that. That was great. And I participated in that workshop. We actually created a sort of idea board for a platform for women moving forward in permaculture. So things that we want to see improved, ways that we can support each other, and how to create a network, which was really great. I'm excited to see how that goes in the future. Something else that I liked was that there was a central information point where people could come and meet each other. If you were kind of lost, you could go to the central information point and you'd probably see people that you know. So I really liked that you weren't just kind of lost and alone. There was a lot of spaces where you could meet other people. And then something really, really cool happened at the EUPC that was started by a workshop that my partner participated in. It was a dragon dreaming workshop. A dragon dreaming is a technique for putting your dreams into reality. So they did see that there were spaces for people to meet up in, and they really liked that, but they didn't feel there were spaces for celebration. There was kind of like these after workshop parties happening in the evenings, but they weren't super organized. So this group dragon dreamed a mini festival, like at night celebration thing on the waterfront, and they created signs. They all organized, everyone contributed a little bit, and then there was like a big party that happened on one of the nights, which was really awesome. Part of it was just spontaneous, and a good part of it was also organized by this workshop who saw the need for something and then made it happen right there on the spot, which was really awesome. So that was pretty much it. Now I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the things that I didn't like so much at the EUPC. There were a lot of great things, but there were some things that were a bit of a red flag for me. One of the things is that, well, my personal interests in permaculture lie in the sort of social aspect of permaculture and people care and what that actually means. And to me, that means that we have to be on board with like social justice movements and what's going on in the local environment. So just so you know, what I mean by social justice is the recognition of the unequal distributions of power, privilege, and access to resources that exist in a given society, and actively working against that. And so I was a little bit surprised that there wasn't a big discussion on the refugee crisis that's happening in Europe right now. Like, I know there was a special permaculture and refugee crisis workshop that was on one of the EDGE events, so I think it happened just after the EUPC finished, but it wasn't like, there wasn't a core aspect of talking about the refugee crisis at the EUPC, and I was pretty surprised. I would have really liked to have that be like a central focus, because that was something that was happening right then, and it was like, I think that permaculture has so many ways that it could help, whether it's helping refugees directly or helping people be empathetic and understanding of the refugee situation. I think that I would have really liked to see that be more of a central part. Continuing on from that, there wasn't really any talk about social justice in permaculture except for by one presenter. There wasn't really a focus on who gets left behind in the movement of permaculture, and I think there are people who get left behind. There's still this idea that it's very inclusive, that anyone who wants to participate can participate, which is based on an assumption that everyone has similar access to the resources needed to participate in permaculture. There wasn't that much talk of how permaculture can align itself better with social justice movements, which I think is just such an essential part of what people care actually means. There was, however, one presenter at the EUPC who wasn't even European. She was actually from the States, and she was very directly addressing the issue of permaculture and social justice. And so she has set up a permaculture training program for people in the States who are just being released from jail and re-entering the community. And so there's a really high re-incarceration rate there. So she is stepping in with permaculture and giving people who are coming back into the community training to essentially design their life, which is what I think permaculture is really good at. So they get trained in how to be entrepreneurs, how to relate back to their community, and they just get given these new set of skills. And we watched a short documentary about it, and it was really amazing. And that someone was seeing this need in her community and was saying, okay, that's where I gotta go. Which I think is really cool, and I think a lot of permaculture practitioners could adopt that attitude. I would certainly like to adopt that attitude, and it inspired ideas in me of what I could do with my own permaculture practice. So thank you guys. I think that's everything for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me on the third episode of Permaculture Perspectives. I would love to get some collaborators on this channel. I already had someone reach out to me after the second episode saying they'd like to collaborate, which was really cool. So anyone who has a sort of response to this video that they want to post and tag me in, that would be awesome. And I'm also open to doing collabs where we actually film different parts of the video in different parts of the world and then like smush it together and release it as one video. So if you guys have any ideas or you'd like to collaborate with me, just post a comment down below, and I would love to hear your suggestions. Please like and subscribe to support me in what I do and help me in making continued and better content. I will see you next time on Permaculture Perspectives. Take care. Bye.